Well, as we head towards the beginning officially of summer, actually, just the other day, I think summer officially started. It's important to talk about character because we're out and about more. We're on vacation. We're having more leisure time this summer. Hopefully, you're taking some time off. So, today on the Limitless Leadership Lounge, we're going to talk a little bit more how to develop good character because that term, be a good person, is always thrown around. But what does that actually mean? I'm John Gehring, joined as always by Coach Jim Johnson and Dr. Enuma Karim. When it comes to character, Coach, you have a very high character. Renuma, you do as well. So I'm curious to pick both of your brains on this. Let's start with you, Coach, because you taught character not only as a basketball coach teaching basketball, but you taught character for young men throughout your career. What is our first key to committing to a higher character?
So, John, we'll keep the alliteration with practice what you preach. And I'm going to share a story that was very humbling, but was very powerful. Early in my coaching career at Greece Athena, where I finished my career, and I coached there 20 years. Uh, one of the big things that I wanted to do is have a brand where we were a first class organization. So, one of our requirements is when we went and played at another school that we had to wear a shirt and tie, all the players and the coaches. Well, the one thing that was a little bit of an issue for me is I don't love shirt and ties. I'm a little more of a casual guy. And so one time, I mean, I was dressed nicely, but it was certainly not a shirt and tie. And it was on the road, and I can't remember whether we won or lost, but I do remember the second part. And that was as we were walking to the bus, one of my parents said, "Hey, coach, you always talk about leading by example. And how come you ask all the young men to wear a shirt and tie, yet you're not wearing them?" And you know what? It was humbling. I kind of gobbled my pride, and I said, "You know what? I appreciate your thoughts, and you're absolutely right." And I must admit, that was a very powerful thing for me because from then on, as long as we asked our players to wear shirt and ties, the old coach wore a shirt and tie as well. So I just think it's really important in character. We talk about it so much about leading by example, but if you say one thing and you do another, you break that magical word that we talk about all the time in building good leadership, and that's trust. And
Mm,
people can't trust you if you practice one thing and preach another, or vice versa. So you got to consistently align your words and actions. And that story was really powerful for me because I remember it many years later that I could share it. And number two, the impact that it made on me, on the fact that I must practice what I preach.
And the humility to listen to that
right.
parent too, because you need that as a leader. You need that humility. Sure, as a parent, sure they don't have the authority that you do over the team, but to say that, I think that's really important. So that's the first commitment we can make to improving our character is to practice what we preach, lead by example. Renuma, what's the second commitment?
Yeah, well, I want to clarify the character is not personality. It's different. Character, and as coach was saying, like we also build our character through our life experiences, as we how we deal with it. Are we humble enough? Are we open-minded to accept? So those also contribute to character building. So for me, character building, it's more about principles, and I think that really roots us or grounds us to who we are. And I just returned back from Bangladesh, and it was remarkable to see. Like sometimes we say the character is like a big word, like all the elites and everybody is talking about, but it is how we learn to live our life in a way. Those are some principles and values. And interestingly, I found out that it is prioritizing our values and principles over instincts. Even when we have that urge, that need, but we have to have the courage to stick to our principle that I'm not going to go beyond this limit. And back home in Bangladesh, I got up in a rickshaw. Like I was asking, rickshaw is a three-wheeled transport device that is very environment friendly, no battery. It's human driven. So it's a person who will paddle you to different places. So when I was asking for the rate, everybody was charging me higher than the actual one. And there was this one elderly rickshaw puller, and I'm always like drawn to elderly people so that I can give them a little bit more. They're working hard, and he priced the exact price. I got up, and then because of his honesty, I wanted to give him $20 more. And he was adamant, no, ma'am, this is not the rate. I'm not going to take the extra 20. I could see that his shirts are torn. He could buy an extra shirt or like have something. But he did not accept my $20. So that I think to me that is also an example of his values, his principles, and his character. No matter how difficult the situation is, how pressing the situation is, he is not shifting from his value. So this was a very like heartwarming, and I myself was humbled by this experience. So I think principles and values, sticking to your principle and value is one of the core area where we can build our character.
I couldn't agree more, Numa, and that's such a powerful story. And that elderly man, we certainly hope that he's blessed with what
Right.
he deserves because that's sticking to your character. I believe it works out in the long run, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe some
Definitely.
people call it karma, some people call it, the law of reciprocity, whatever you want to call it. Honesty is always the best policy. And the third commitment to character, I would say, is recognizing, and this is a term coach uses all the time, you're always on stage. And what we mean by this is you're not either on stage or off stage. You're not in your game mode or your practice mode or at home mode. There shouldn't be so much of a distinction between those two things. A lot of times, especially in the age of social media, we act a certain way to try to feel like we belong, to try to look like we belong, to try to, they say, keep up with the Joneses, right? And
Right.
there's just naturally a layer of very uh, fakeness that we have. And I think that can be a really damaging thing. But when we stay the same off stage as we are on stage, that's the best policy to a higher character because then we're not faking it. Then we're just
Right.
authentically, genuinely who we are. And that's so important in social media too when we talk about content production, which is what I do for my business, producing a lot of content for brands. People always want to be so perfect. They always come to me and say, "Well, I gotta make sure I'm polished. I'm gotta make sure I'm wearing this certain shirt or whatever." And certainly branding is important, but that doesn't mean stepping outside of who you actually are. We want to hear those uhs and ahs and those little moments where things might not be perfectly polished. You don't have to be on the beach for every photo you take. Being the same on stage and off stage is so important. And then just remembering, no matter where you are, and this speaks to what Coach says a lot, you are on stage. So if you are maybe in a taxi or in a rickshaw, like Renuma,
Mm.
you're on stage there too. Your audience might
Right.
just be that one driver.
Sure.
Your audience might just be the store manager when you're at a store, but you're still on stage. It's just
Mm.
a different audience, and your behavior with one person is potentially just as important as your behavior on a stage in front of hundreds of people. So just remember, no matter what you're doing, it's impacting your reputation. And that's why it's also important to stay who you are on and off stage. So those
John,
are
you,
our three
yeah.
commitments to character.
I
Yeah,
think, John,
John,
you said
go
a
ahead,
very
Renuma.
important, yeah, John said a very important thing. And there are people who will act very respectful to like similar status individuals and things like that. And I've seen when there are people who have less power, they will act very disrespectful with the waiter, like, hey, come over here. Very
Mhm.
disrespectful attitude. That is not character. You treat everybody in a similar way, no matter whether they have the power or not. So that's how I also see that as a character. Like I judge people, I observe people how they are interacting with the waiter or the stewardess or somebody who has less power than them, and that speaks a thousand word. Like how what kind of person they are.
Great point.
Let me augment a couple things because you guys had some really powerful things. with Renuma, I know that a lot of people that are hiring people will take them out to dinner because they want to see how they
Mhm.
respond to the waiter in the atmosphere. So you got a really powerful point, and it's something on Renuma's point. Something we really try to stress is what are your core values and getting clarity of those and then living them. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, John, the one of the things that used to bother me a lot, and it still does, being a speaker, is the person on stage is this great persona, and then off stage he's a complete jerk.
Mhm.
And so, John's point is so valid. Are you a person of character, as Renuma said, on stage and off stage? So some
Mm,
very powerful points there.
It's great when, you meet a musician or somebody, a big speaker, and you meet them and they're like, "Oh my gosh, they're so nice off stage. They're just
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
expected them to be." I mean, meeting Carrie Underwood, that was the one that I was like, "Oh my gosh, she's just a really nice person, just like
Yeah,
she is on stage." And then Renuma, I would also say to your point about treating someone the same with less power, that is so important. And it makes sense, Coach, why you'd take someone out to dinner because I feel like that's a sign of insecurity. If
mm,
you're constantly trying to keep someone in their place or show them that you have more power than them or show them that you have the authority to boss them around, that's bad leadership for one thing, right? If you're leading a
right.
team. And it's
yeah,
also an insecure mindset of we have to keep them low. We can't elevate them. We have to keep them low. So I think that comes from a deep place of insecurity. And I think that's so important. So, character, again, those three main keys that we talked about. Coach talked about leading by example, practicing what you preach. Renuma, you dove into the importance of character and being honest and staying to your values in every circumstance. And I talked a bit about always being on stage. So we'd love your thoughts as well. Let us know. And if you're enjoying the podcast, whether it be the video format up on YouTube, we'd love for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already, or the audio format. We'd love for you to leave a review and make sure you share this with three of your friends because, well, there's three of us, and I know that there's three people out there that that might be able to benefit from this as well. So thanks for listening this week to the Limitless Leadership Lounge. We'll be back next week for another tri generational conversation.